The Joker is the real hero of Gotham. Fans argue his chaos is targeted, meant to rip Gotham's moral delusions apart. He doesn't rob for money or power, he tears down facades. The fairy experiment? That's not villainy, it's a test. He forces strangers to confront whether they'll kill to survive. His attacks expose the thin line between law and fear. Gotham's heroes follow codes, but the Joker shows how brittle those codes really are. He pushes Batman to break rules, challenges Gordon's blind loyalty to justice, and unmasks Harvey Dent's limits. Fans say that without Joker's pressure, Gotham's ideals stay untested and hollow. He's not destroying the city, he's diagnosing it. Joker's chaos forces real change, making him a dark catalyst rather than just a madman. Forrest Gump is from Krypton. Fans point to his endless list of impossible achievements and argue they're not luck. They're low-level superpowers. The theory starts with the idea that Forrest was found in a field by Mrs. Gump after a mysterious crash, with no real mention of a father, which mirrors Superman's origin. His sudden transformation from a leg brace-wearing child to a sprinting machine capable of outrunning trucks is treated as his powers activating. He joins the army, survives injuries that should have killed him, runs across the country without stopping, dominates at ping pong with lightning-fast reflexes, and accidentally builds a fortune. These feats align more with Kryptonian abilities under Earth's sun than human talent. And of course, Jenny, she's his kryptonite, his one true weakness. By the way, if you guys like movie content like this, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Disney made Frozen to avoid the Walt Disney allegations. Fans believe the film's title was calculated. For decades, rumors swirled that Walt Disney was cryogenically frozen after his death, with stories claiming his body or head was stored beneath Disneyland. These tales thrived in internet search results until Frozen hit theaters. After 2013, searches for Disney Frozen started showing Elsa, Olaf, and ice castles instead of cryonics theories. Supporters of the idea point out that the movie was originally called The Snow Queen, a title that wouldn't have impacted search rankings the same way. By naming it Frozen, Disney essentially flooded the internet with content unrelated to Walt's alleged frozen remains. Reddit threads and SEO commentary point to this keyword dominance as a strategic way to bury old rumors. Willy Wonka planted the last golden ticket. The theory claims Wonka handpicked Charlie, and the candy shop owner Bill was in on it. Fans love pointing out how Slugworth was really just an employee in disguise, proving Wonka used real people to manipulate outcomes. Then there's the fake report from Paraguay, which conveniently threw everyone off the scent. The real kicker is Bill's weird behavior. He's way too cheerful, throws free candy around, and just happens to give Charlie a Wonka bar from behind the counter like he already knew what was inside. He sees Charlie give money to his grandfather and then reaches for the exact bar with the ticket. That's not normal shopkeeper behavior. That's a planned handoff. The whole thing feels staged from the jump. Phil, Stu, and Alan are all part of Doug's imagination. Fans think The Hangover isn't just about a lost groom. It's about a man confronting himself. Doug disappears early in the film, leaving his friends to unravel a wild night, but some believe those friends aren't real. Phil reflects Doug's bold, reckless side, Stu shows his cautious and repressed nature, and Alan is pure chaotic impulse. Their wild journey through Vegas becomes a metaphor for Doug sorting through internal chaos before marriage. Each character's arc mirrors emotional progress. Phil grows more honest, Stu finds confidence, and Alan breaks through insecurity. When they find Doug, it symbolizes him reintegrating those parts of himself. His wedding was both a ceremony and the outcome of self-reconciliation. Captain America was able to hold off Thanos using the power of will. Fans highlight the moment Thanos tries to push past Steve in Wakanda, and instead of steamrolling him, Thanos actually looks surprised, like he's shocked this guy's still standing. That expression alone fuels the theory that it was about resolve. Cap's strength comes from that super serum, sure, but it's his refusal to back down that defines the scene. Across the MCU, he's been the one who gets up when he shouldn't, who keeps fighting when it's hopeless. And then there's Endgame. He lifts Mjolnir because he's worthy, not because he's strong. That moment's earned from who he is, not what he can bench press. Holding off Thanos, even for a second, fits perfectly. Biff's life was actually improved at the end of Back to the Future. When Marty returns to 1985, everything's flipped. His dad's a confident author, his mom's glowing, and his siblings are thriving. But look at Biff. He's no longer a bitter bully looming over the McFlys. Now he's working as a car detailer, polishing George's BMW with a weird mix of pride and panic. That's a stable job. He's not lurking in alleys or bullying nerds, he's earning a living. Fans point out that he's actually more socially functional in this timeline. No longer driven by power or resentment, Biff seems more grounded. Sure, he's awkward and jumpy, but he's participating in society without crushing anyone's spirit. That's a glow up for a guy whose personality once peaked in high school school parking lots. Tarzan wore a cloth because he was embarrassed by the size of his genitals. Fans point out that humans have proportionately larger genitals than gorillas, and since Tarzan grew up around them, that difference would have been obvious. The theory says his loincloth is a response to standing out physically in a group where nudity is the norm. According to threads that dig into this, young Tarzan likely faced teasing or confusion from his gorilla family, which led to social discomfort. So, he covered up. Not because anyone else wore clothes, but because hiding that part of himself helped him blend in. The loincloth shows up early in his life and never goes away, which supports the idea that it's tied to something deeper than modesty. It's survival of the least embarrassing. Obi-Wan was sent to Tatooine to protect the universe from Luke should he choose the path of his father. Fans point out he was stationed there, living under an alias and keeping quiet watch over him for years. After Anakin became Vader, Obi-Wan didn't flee randomly. He settled near the Skywalker boy with a plan. The Jedi separated Luke and Leia, placed them far from the Empire's reach, and kept Luke near a man who had seen firsthand what Anakin became. Tatooine's location, buried in the Outer Rim and tied to Vader's own trauma, made it a calculated hideout. Fans also note how Obi-Wan slowly guided Luke into the truth, revealing just enough to shape his judgment. Giving him Anakin's lightsaber was symbolic and loaded with responsibility. The Hunger Games were created to gauge each district's strengths and establish countermeasures where necessary. Fans point out that each district specializes in a different industry, so the tributes naturally showcase different skill sets, from tech in District 3 to brute strength in District 2. That makes the arena a live test site. Capital leaders watch how tributes strategize, form alliances, and handle stress, using that information to assess who might pose future threats. Reddit threads break down how these performances could help the capital refine peacekeeper deployments or manipulate resources. It's intelligence gathering. Fans also note that the games are fully televised, turning every tribute into a case study. Capital elites get to see how adaptable each district is, how disciplined or rebellious their youth appear, and what tactics they rely on when cut off from resources. Ferris Bueller is stuck in a time loop. Fans believe the entire day we see is the final polished version of a loop he's lived hundreds of times. His elaborate pranks and perfect timing feel way too calculated for a kid skipping school once. He hacks systems, manipulates adults, predicts reactions, and even catches a foul ball, like he's rehearsed it. He even jokes that it took years of practice to become so good. And that's not a throwaway line, it's read as a direct nod to the loop. Then there's the way he talks to the audience. It's not casual commentary, it feels like someone who's tried this before and knows exactly what's coming. Saying things like, "This is where Cameron goes berserk," sounds more like memory than prediction. Frodo doesn't know Legolas's name. Fans notice that throughout the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, Frodo never actually says it, not once. He calls out to Gandalf, Sam, Aragorn, Gimli, even Boromir, but Legolas? Just a polite nod and a smile. The most telling moment is in the Return of the King, when the Fellowship reunites and Frodo greets everyone by name, except Legolas, who just gets a wordless look. Supporters of the theory argue that Frodo and Legolas barely interact, and with Frodo being consumed by the ring and trauma, it's plausible he simply never caught the name. The theories gained so much traction that even Elijah Wood chimed in, admitting Frodo never actually says it. The elf might have saved Middle-earth, but Frodo might have just called him that guy with the bow. Batman and Robin was an in-universe movie made by the people of Gotham. Fans argue the film's over-the-top tone, flashy costumes, and endless puns feel more like a dramatized retelling than a real account of Batman's life. Instead of gritty realism, it plays like Gotham's version of a summer blockbuster, how the public might imagine their local hero through pop culture lenses. Everything's exaggerated. Villains crack jokes non-stop, bat nipples exist, and logic takes a backseat to spectacle. Reddit threads push the idea that this is a fictional film within the fictional world, created by Gotham's own citizens to mythologize Batman. The camp, theatrics, and cartoon logic line up perfectly with how a city obsessed with its masked vigilante might adapt his story for screens. Palpatine uses Padme's life force to keep Vader alive. Fans believe her death was engineered. The medical droid says she's healthy but lost the will to live, which supporters of the theory see as a cover for something more sinister. At the exact moment Padme dies, Anakin's being rebuilt, with his iconic breath sinking to her last heartbeat. That timing feels intentional. Palpatine, who teased the ability to cheat death through Darth Plagueis, is seen as orchestrating this transfer, using Padme's life essence to sustain his new apprentice. He needed Vader alive, and what better source than the person Anakin loved most? Discussions also point out that Palpatine knows she's dead before being told, hinting he felt the shift in the Force because he caused it. Heavyweights is a prequel to Dodgeball, and Tony Perkis is White Goodman. Fans link the two Ben Stiller characters through more than just looks. They argue Perkis and Goodman are the same guy at different points in life. Both obsess over fitness, hate losers, and speak in that same overdone macho voice. In Heavyweights, Perkis is publicly humiliated, booted from Camp Hope, and last seen broken and muttering. The theory says that moment breaks him enough to disappear, reinvent himself, and re-emerge as White Goodman. Goodman's Globo Gym empire and wealth line up with someone desperate to prove their old failure was just a fluke. His contempt for average Joe's gym mirrors the disgust Perkis had for the kids. Even Stiller admitted the characters feel like cousins. Fans just drop the family angle and call it what it is: evolution. John Connor engineered Kyle Reese as his father. Fans argue the timeline in The Terminator is a modified version shaped by John himself. The theory says John already existed when he sent Reese back, which means he must have had a different biological father in the original timeline. Reese only becomes his father because of Skynet's interference, which triggers John to send him back, completing a loop. That choice creates a new version of history, one where John's own future decision rewrites his origin. Fans highlight Sarah's canceled date the night the Terminator arrives, suggesting she was meant to meet someone else, until the timeline changed. John manipulates time to shape his own legacy, ensuring that the John Connor who leads the Resistance is the one he chooses to create. The genie still owes Aladdin a wish. Fans point out that Aladdin only clearly states one official wish, asking to be made a prince. But even that's shaky. Genie gives him clothes, an elephant, and a parade, but nobody actually recognizes him as royalty. The disguise crumbles fast, and it's not until the Sultan changes the law that Aladdin truly becomes a prince. Then there's the drowning scene. Aladdin never says, "I wish," yet Genie rescues him and calls it wish number 2. By Genie's own rules, wishes have to be spoken so that rescue might not even count. That leaves the final wish, used to set Genie free. If the prince transformation didn't truly stick and the drowning save was a technical loophole, fans say Genie's running a wish tab, and despite his freedom, he might still owe Aladdin cosmic change. Glinda is the true villain of The Wizard of Oz. Fans argue her actions aren't so good when you actually look at them. She shows up right after the Wicked Witch of the East dies, hands Dorothy the powerful ruby slippers, then conveniently disappears while Dorothy becomes a target. Instead of sending her home, Glinda sends her on a dangerous journey, one that just happens to result in the deaths of the remaining witches and the exposure of the wizard as a fraud. Only after all her potential rivals are gone does Glinda reveal Dorothy could have gone home all along. That delay feels calculated. She has no Kansas counterpart like the others, making her role feel disconnected from Dorothy's psyche, and her timing always aligns with power shifts in Oz. She doesn't help Dorothy directly, she nudges her along, always just late enough to let someone else fall. Scooby-Doo takes place in an economic depression. Fans argue the show's world is full of financial decay, abandoned amusement parks, shuttered airfields, crumbling mansions, and empty tourist resorts. These aren't isolated incidents. Nearly every mystery takes place somewhere once profitable that's now eerily deserted. The villains, usually ex-professionals, scientists, lawyers, museum directors, people who've turned to crime for cash because stable jobs have dried up, that trend points to economic collapse, not cartoon convenience. The Mystery Inc. gang roams endlessly in a van with no source of income, no schooling, and no real responsibilities, which fans say reflects youth displaced by a broken system. Scams involving inheritance, insurance fraud, or buried treasure come up constantly, and towns seem practically lifeless. With no bustling communities or authorities maintaining order, it's crime for survival. Rocky lets Apollo get killed so he doesn't reveal that he lost in the secret fight. Fans point to the moment in Rocky IV where Rocky hesitates to throw in the towel, even as Apollo's clearly being brutalized by Drago. They believe that hesitation is internal conflict. In Creed, Rocky admits Apollo won their secret third match after Rocky III, a fight no one else knew about. That admission reframes everything. If Apollo had lived and talked, that private loss could have gone public, denting Rocky's reputation as the ultimate champion. Fans argue Apollo's confidence entering the ring with Drago may have been fueled by that win, and Rocky, knowing this, let the fight play out, consciously or not. Apollo's death keeps the myth intact. All Adam Sandler movies are connected. Fans call it the Sandlerverse, and they've mapped out tons of links to prove it. Characters like the "You Can Do It" guy appear in The Waterboy, Little Nicky, and The Longest Yard, yelling the same line with the same energy. Then there's Chubbs from Happy Gilmore, who dies and later shows up in heaven during Little Nicky. Same character, same alligator story. The name Eric Lamonsoff pops up in Click, Zohan, The Wedding Singer, and Grown Ups, and fans treat him as a real person drifting through different Sandler plots. Otto the Caddy resurfaces in Jack and Jill, and the awful O'Doyle family keeps reappearing like a running curse. Rob Schneider plays nearly identical side characters in multiple films. It's all too connected to ignore. Andy's parents are divorcing. Fans point out that Andy's dad is completely absent from Toy Story. Not just physically missing, but never mentioned, not even in passing during moving day, birthday parties, or emotional moments. The moving truck is only half full, and Andy's mom appears to be handling everything alone, including a major crosstown move, which supporters of the theory say reflects a recent separation. She's also not wearing a wedding ring, a detail some fans interpret as deliberate. Andy's deep emotional attachment to his toys, especially Woody, who he treats like a parental figure, reads as a coping mechanism for a child dealing with a fractured family. The timing of him getting a puppy at the end of the first film is seen by some as a classic divorce gift to distract from instability. Fans argue the entire emotional core of Andy's relationship with his toys is shaped by the silent presence of a missing father, and that the divorce theory neatly explains the film's emotional weight and household dynamic without needing an on-screen explanation. Snake Eyes predicted Charlie Kirk's death. Fans online claim the movie lines up eerily with later real-world narratives surrounding him. In the film, a political figure named Charles Kirkland is shot in the neck during a crowded boxing match, which theorists connect to the shared first name and surname similarity. They also point out a character named Tyler tied to the conspiracy, which gets compared to Tyler Robinson, the real-life assassin. The event happens in front of a massive audience, mirrors themes of public spectacle, and centers on hidden forces manipulating chaos. Supporters frame these overlaps as predictive programming rather than coincidence, arguing the movie planted symbolic details years in advance. They focus on name echoes, public settings, and violence timing to build the case. Bird Box monsters are angels, and the movie depicts the Rapture. Fans argue the creatures aren't evil, they're divine. Victims don't die in terror. They see visions of beauty, lost loved ones, or some kind of overwhelming peace before taking their lives. That mirrors descriptions of biblical encounters with angels too powerful for mortals to bear. In Bird Box Barcelona, a survivor even sees them as six-winged seraphim, straight out of religious iconography. The idea is that these beings aren't monsters, they're triggers for ascension. Some characters believe the creatures are guiding humanity towards salvation, helping people go home. The chaos, mass death, and sudden vanishing of society resemble Rapture-like events where the chosen are taken in spirit. Every Mad Max is the same story. Fans believe each film isn't a direct sequel, but a retelling of the same myth passed down in the wasteland, shaped by whoever's telling it. The stories always follow a lone drifter named Max who helps a desperate group against a tyrant, then disappears. The details shift, villains change, timelines blur, and Max's car reappears even after it's destroyed, suggesting memory and legend are at play. Voiceover narration, like the feral kids in The Road Warrior, supports the idea that we're hearing old tales, not watching strict history. Survivors with no written records just retell what they know. A man with a haunted past rolls in, saves the day, and vanishes. The warlords, the wasteland, the chaos, they all blend together across versions. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.